So women now, in the past 15 years, are more unhappy and miserable than any women in the recorded history. So you're more miserable than your mother and your grandmother and your great great grandmother, who had a system in place. They knew who they were. They knew how to dance with men. They knew their place. Again, I'm not talking about going back to the 50s, by the way. I always get accused of that. There's a fucking modern way to do relationships in the modern world, but there's still a pretty traditional frame. Get this. This is why shit, things going to shit. Man's role has never changed through the feminist movement and shit. Men are supposed to provide, protect, cherish, give, support, right? All that shit. Men are supposed to make something of themselves. Men have to push against their fears, build their character, build their confidence, build a business, make some money, have an impact on the world. Otherwise, nobody values you. You're a loser. So this is also how we gain self-respect and respect for men and women in the world. Like, you make your place and you contribute something that people go, wow, way to go, dude. And this is what impresses women. And it's these men that, by the way, because they build their character, confidence, and money, because that's what they do, is they're creating something that's difficult, and that's the point, had to discipline themselves to get there. These are the men who want families, who want wives, families, and build a castle, build a kingdom, put their arms around all of it and protect it. Right? That's now men's role has never changed. Women today still expect men to provide, protect, cherish, give, pay, right? All this shit. Except with the feminist movement, women now refuse or don't want to be traditional. So we want men to be traditional as they always have been, and there's no choice for men. Otherwise, you're a fucking loser living in your mother's basement playing video games. Oh, that's sexy. No. So you want them to have a shit together. That's very traditional, but you refuse to be traditional. This is why nothing's working. And the men who have their shit together, the men you think are high value, right? That, you deserve that guy, but you refuse to be a wife. You refuse to be a mother. You refuse to be a support system and believe in him and do the part that your grandmother did. My favorite thing is, like, women will say, again, they don't want to do it. And they say, all the good ones are taking. All the good guys are taken. You go, yeah, his wife was there 20 years ago when he was nobody. You're right. Now she deserves everything. She was there, as part of the unit to build a dynamic with him and to build a life with him. She believed in him. She blew wind in his sail. She was a jet fuel for him to, like, conquer the world, because that's what women do. When you have a good woman who believes in you, you can't stop. I'm not that guy without my wife, period. Right? So she deserves everything. Absolutely. You don't. He fought for what he's got, and you don't understand. Really? So again, it's not that hard, right? So all the good ones are taken. The good ones are taken because the women were there where they were nobodies. So ladies, I suggest, you get off your high horse and your attitude and your arrogance that, you deserve the top man when you're not a top lady. You don't know how to be a wife. You don't know how to be a mother. You don't want to. Okay. You want to be a boss babe? Beautiful. Get some
Yeah,
cats. Get
they're
some
gonna
cats,
be
because that's what it's gonna end up, because men don't want that shit. And so I say, like, find yourself a guy who you can see has a shit together, has a plan in life, right? Forget the money, but women pick men with the potential of, like, oh, wow, like, he's going somewhere. Right? Okay, find yourself a guy who's on his way to something, like my wife did with me, and like most women do with their man when they're younger. Not by the time you're 40 years old, in your 20s. Find a guy who's got a plan, who's got somewhere to go, he's got mojo, he knows who he is. This is the guy that will that you could deserve the fruit of building something together. You don't
I
get
look
to
at
deserve
women
you don't
as
deserve
a
anything because you have a vagina. You don't deserve
yeah,
shit.
I look at
Vagina,
women as like a source of inspiration because
yeah.
if you get them young enough, they're supposed to you want to be successful because when you look at her, she inspires you. She gives you your peace, she makes it easy, she makes the world worth fighting for. But I think a
Ta-da.
lot of women something has happened from their 20s, I believe, to about 35. And I know a lot of people call 35 the wall, right?
It is. It
But
is. Straight up.
something happens during those 15 years where they waste a lot of their time doing whatever, chasing boys, fooling around, whatever the case is. And
Becoming
the
a
men that
boss.
and the men that they neglect that are not cool, that are nerdy, When they
Ta-da.
become something now you're like, hey, do you remember me?
And he's like, oh yeah, step back.
Yeah,
No,
like
I'm going to say this.
I went through that moment, and I pulled up, and this was I had a crush on this. I'm not going to say her name, but she watches this. I had a crush on
Yep.
a girl in my teens, and I remember for about 2 years, she would always ask me, "Hey, Train, do you have $1? Hey, Train, do you have $2?" For 2 years, Andre, I gave her $1, $2 in the '90s. So imagine all that money due to inflation and everything. In my late 20s, I ran into her. I was driving at this time, and
Yep.
I visited my dad. He's in another part of the town in the city, and I was in the parking lot. I was eating some food. I was just relaxing. It was summertime. I had my shirt off, undershirt, my muscles, my hair, whatever. All I hear is terrain. I turn around. It was her. She was pushing. She came off the bus,
Oh, nice. Go
right? She
girl.
was
Go
older than
girl.
me.
Yeah.
I see the stroller. It was a double stroller
Oh.
with 2 kids in it. And I was like, wow. She's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, yeah, I'm doing fine. You know, it's like, hey, stranger. You know that hey, stranger text? It's like
Mhm.
that, right? I'm like, hey, I'm doing well. So, we talked to her. She's like, we should hang out sometime. I looked at her. I looked at the double stroller. I was like, nah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'll pass.